This is a True FM podcast. Find us online on truefm.co.za.
Namhlanje World Radio Day. Ebesithembisile kuba sawuthetha noNaye Lupondwana. Naye, welcome to True FM NL Radio.
That was then. That was when I was still at True FM. No longer NL Radio now.
Kuhle Naye. Look, Naye, it's great for me uba ndithethe nawe ngale ndlela. Considering indlela oyihambileyo and the success othe wayifumana. Naye abantu bafuna uqonda into yoba iradio iqale nini njani.
It would be problematic for us to try and establish uba iradio iqale njani na kuba lokhu there are many other stories that have cropped up ever since we have talked about the idea of radio. Abanye bathetha nge-radio as in radio frequencies. Abanye bathetha nge-radio as the actual medium lesicommunicate kuyo ngoku ungazi noba ngoku xa kuthatha nge-radio weyiphi abafuna uyazi because when you go to school wena kuyazi ngcono ngoba you went to school for this. We have to establish exactly what we're referring to. We're talking about the medium or are we talking about the actual frequency? When ufuna sethe
I think I'm more interested in wena uqale nini.
2000, I think. Yeah, I started working as a producer at a campus radio station in Pretoria. Now it's called Tshwane University of Technology. Then it was called Technikon Northern Gauteng, and so the radio station there for our campus was TMG Radio. So I was producing a faith show there. That's when I started radio. And then I was invited to come and have an interview with Reverend Madolo. Divanisile Madolo at the time. I think it was 2000. And so we came in and had an interview with Madolo. And the rest is history. I started on the 1st of February 2001. And our group, we were all here together. Yeah, that was when we started professional radio. But before then, the year before, it was just academic stuff, the stuff that we're doing on campus radio.
Naye apha True FM zeziphi shows ozenza and zeziphi memories into ozikhumbulayo that come to mind xa ucinga ngexesha lakho True FM?
Wow. Okay, I think I've done almost all of them, almost being the operative word. Okay, when I started doing the midnight show. I did 12 to 3, 2 shows there. I think I did them for about 2 weeks. And then Kid, I don't know what Kid does there now, but Kid then was a programs manager, then moved me to do the Sunday morning show between 9 and 12. I followed that up by proposing that we could call it the Nest, and we had another idea and another agenda to propagate Izivozabandabasha from a historic perspective. And then from there, I did 4 or 5 shows, including the Sunday show, which consistently has always been the show that I did for 8 years. And I did that all the time when OOC's, the Live Society, had gone, and so I had to stand in for the breakfast show. And then I moved from there. I stood in the PMs, the one that you're doing right now. And then by the time I left, I had done almost all of them because I would have a stint on midday, I would have a stint there. But the one that I love most is the one that you and I did. If you remember quite well, we had conversations when we changed CKI to True FM.
Yes.
Then we were tasked. I think Rebecca was managing the station at that time, and so she gave us a mandate of doing a conversations program where young people would be having conversations. And so that was my greatest love. Where I think that's what was my springboard for talk radio, because when we started there, it sparked my love for talk radio. That's where I am. That's where I am now.
Wow. And Naye, there's been challenges. Okay, wahlangana nazo radio. Just the challenges that you faced in general.
Yeah, because the challenges just challenges that I experienced. I suppose I'm still experiencing them right now. Please forgive me. There's a bit of a storm outside. One is lack of training. We had been expected to perform using equipment that we were never trained to use. But because we called ourselves lovers of radio, then we were expected to perform. And we did, I suppose. We went in, we did our job. But it would have been nice for us to go in and we be given the training necessary for the equipment without us fumbling our way through. But I think that challenge became a good thing for many of us because you got to discover more than what the people who train would do. Because later on, I think about 2 or 3 years down the line, while Lupondwana was still a presenter herself, we had some training. And that training proved to be very minimal. And then later on, I discovered that, well, abantu abethetha radio, they are talking about two different things. Some have got their own expectations, and when I'm saying radio, I'm referring to what we're doing now, public service radio. And they are expecting us to be public service, and yet there are other expectations that are commercial, to have listeners, and yet you don't have the commercial edge to attract people. It was a big challenge. It still is a challenge that you are doing public service radio, and yet there is a commercial interest that you're supposed to be servicing.
Naye abantu bathanda ukubuza xa ndibachazela mhlawumbi kumamele pha ku-SFM bathi abantu uyayenza into yakhe lo mfundi ithi seke ndasebenza na, of course abayikholelwa loo nto.
Yes.
Seke ndasebenza babuza bunjani, ithi you uyakufaka enkundleni because wayefuna ukwenza ilaw kaloku lo wayiyeka ilaw. So are you still doing law?
I njalongo ngakafane lo. It is not exactly like that.
Yeah.
If you remember, when I was working there, I was studying law. And then I had moved on to study journalism. When I moved to Johannesburg, I studied journalism and I did my postgrad in journalism. And I learned and I discovered that in journalism, there had been a long-standing interest to get information from whatever source you're getting it from, and then you disseminate it broadly, hence broadcasting. And unfortunately, many of us journalists, we tend not to extract the information satisfactorily, to the point that which defeats the purpose of asking the question if you're not going to get the answer, which I suppose speaks to what you're calling interrogation now. Interrogate. That is not the case. It is merely a pursuit of acquiring and sourcing that information from you, even if I have to mine it sometimes, but I still have to get the information and then broadcast it.
Naye kukwi-shows endizikhumbulayo esasizenza, ikhona ishow sasithetha nosisi we-Love Life. Waphuma lo sisi lowo sengasibulisi sobabini ngenxa yendlela ombuza ngayo imibuzo. Ndifuna abantu bayazi ke namhlanje into yoba kwakunzima uba ndifumana abantu for ishow kuthiwa iza kwenziwa ngubani le interview, ndithi nguNaye, kuthiwa yu hayi mamelani ganindise kwenye ishow. So because you had such high standards and abantu wawufuna into abantu baphinde imibuzo, and you always asked the difficult questions.
I suppose that I'm hoping that's a good thing, John.
Yes.
Okay.
Naye, how can we promote the theme yalo nyaka kwi World Radio Day ethetha about the promotion dialogue, tolerance and peace? I-radio ingaziphakamisa njani ezinto?
I think radio in and by itself is very conflicted in Galondole, because we'll find that there are people who are on radio who don't have the very same ideal to promote dialogue for peace and all of those things. Some people feel they can use radio for their own means, whether it is to get the number of people to listen to you or whether to be famous, you and yourself. But unfortunately, we first need to get it into the minds of the people who are on radio, that when they are on radio, they're not there for themselves, because they have been tasked with the responsibility of connecting abantu. And that is a big challenge. I think the biggest way we can do it, or advancing that agenda, is talking to people like yourselves. You must constantly be reminded that awuzanga apho for njipati yako. You are there to serve the people. And unfortunately for you and I and many others, I think Luke's there next to you, the idea is that you're supposed to be serving a public service mandate. So the people who are doing the job need to know what they are doing. They need to be fully aware and fully appraised of what is expected of them. Programs can be done. I mean, you can go on radio and have a conversation with a UNESCO person or the Spaniards who proposed the idea of world radio, but you will not be able to serve the purpose if after that conversation you had, implement. What is most important is for us to be able to implement. See, when we speak or when we choose not to speak, it should promote peace and so forth.
Naye phambi kuba ndike kuhambe ndiyabuzwa ukuba unaye masichazela uba uphuma phi kanye kweli cala. Abanye bathi usuke eGinsberg, I think mna ndikwazi usuke eMthatha mos naye.
Yes. I was born and bred in Umtata, Josh. We only moved to King Williamstown, the then Ciskei, in 1993 because my mother had anticipated as a comrade that there's going to be a move to Ibisho. Ibisho is going to be the capital of the Eastern Cape. I still don't understand why Ibisho is the capital of the Eastern Cape. That's a topic for another day. So we moved there 1993, 1994. The ANC took over power, and so we stayed in King Williamstown as our comrades were deployed, and Omama, as one of the lowest of the comrades there, was put there in government in the office of the premier. And so we only moved in 1990, but I was born and bred in Umtata.
Now, every time ndikubona ndikhile Facebook page yakho and njenge-stock and you've been traveling, you've seen the world, you've spoken to abantu abafana Remote Satna nabanye abantu nenkokheli zelizwe. I'm very proud of you, and I'm sure that the Eastern Cape can say the same.
Thank you very much.
Stream True FM online on truefm.co.za.
Sikho yonke indawo ngalo lonke ixesha like no one else.